Everyone, welcome to the human body. So this is an orientation. So thank you to Ma'am Balagosa for making this PowerPoint. So everything that will be discussed in this topic it's quite simple. No, it's self-explanatory most of the time. But at the end of the day, you have to be well versed with all of these terms. So ayan. So, overview, anatomy. This is the study of the structure and shape of the body and its parts and their relationships to one another. So, the Greek word tomi means to cut and ana means apart. So, physiology, that's the study of how the body and its parts work or function. So, your physio means nature, and of course, theology means study of. So, anatomy, it's more of you studying the structure, while physiology, it's more of you studying of how your body parts work and its function. So anatomy, it's more structural. Your physiology, it's more of studying of how that body part function. So there are various topics in anatomy. So first is embryology. This is a subdivision of developmental anatomy, and it concerns with the developmental changes that occur before birth. So that's the study of your ovum fertilization till their development. So ito na this is what you call your developmental anatomy. It traces structural changes that occur in the body throughout one's lifespan. Di ba? Habang habang tumatanda ka, no? Tinitrace nila yung mga anatomical changes na nangyayari at a certain point in one's lifespan. So, next is your gross or macroscopic anatomy. This is a study of large body structures visible to the naked eye. So, we have regional, systemic, and surface anatomy. Your regional, so that's all the structures, no? When you say when you say abdomen, so lahat ng bones, muscles, blood vessels, and nerves doon are examined at the same time. So that's what we call regional anatomy. So when you say the legs, so sinastudy na natin yung arteries, yung veins, yung muscle, yung skeleton, yung bones na andun in that region, no, sabay at the same time. That's your regional anatomy. While your systemic anatomy, body structure is studied system by system. So when you say system by system, no, we just study the circulatory system, or sabihin natin ang babasahin or ang aaralin natin today is just endocrine system, or ang aaralin lang today at the same time is yung skeletal system ng buong katawan mo. No, it's different from regional anatomy because your regional anatomy, no, we study all the system in a certain part at the same time, while your systemic anatomy, we study it system by system. So later on, I will discuss what are the systems that we are going to study. So next is surface anatomy. This is the study of internal structures as they relate to the overlying skin surface. So next is your microscopic anatomy. So dito, as medtechs, you really have to be good in microscopic anatomy. Since you're gonna, I think in second year, you're gonna study histology. That's a study of tissues. No, so it looks like, I don't know, a painting at first. No, pero you have to study that because we're the one processing the samples for this at the lab. So your microscopic anatomy, this deals with structures too small to be seen with the naked eye. That's why our job is to may ambulansya. Our job is to when let's say we have a biopsy sample, no, tayo ang nagpa-process ng sample na yon for it to look like this. So mababasa ng pathologies, no? So it will be fun. So for your physiology, first is we have your renal physiology. So this concerns your kidney function and urine production. Yan. So for your neurophysiology, explains the workings of your nervous system. Your cardiovascular physiology, it examines the operation of the heart and blood vessels. Your endocrinology, hormones, so don't be confused. Endocrinology, it's a study of hormones and how they control your body functions. Your immunology, your body's defense against disease-causing agents. So immune system. Your respiratory physiology, that's the functions of the air passageways and lungs. So for the levels of structural organization, so ayan, from atoms to organisms. So as we studied before, the simplest level of your structural hierarchy is your chemical level. Yan. So at this level, atoms, no, balik from our science classes, they're the tiny building blocks of matter and they combine to form molecules such as water and proteins. And those molecules, in turn, they associate in specific ways to form organelles. And that's the basic components of the microscopic cells. So your cells, they are the smallest units of living things, and all cells have some common functions. But no, your individual cells, they vary widely in size and shape. And it varies and it reflects their unique functions in the body. So as you go on with your studies in your medical career, you will see how amazing your cells are. So the simplest living creatures are your single cells, but in complex organisms such as us human beings, the hierarchy continues to a tissue level. So tissues are groups of similar cells that have a common function. So yan na, the groups of similar cells. Tissues are groups of similar cells that have a common function. So the four basic tissue types in the human body are, first, you have your epithelium, your muscle, your connective tissue, and your nervous tissue. So at your organ level naman, the extremely complex functions become possible na. So there are certain organs in your body that work together to accomplish a common purpose, and that makes them an organ system. No, because those organs, they work together. Sila yung nagtatrabaho together to accomplish a certain purpose, a common purpose, and that's why they can be classified as an organ system. So ayan. So the highest level of organization is the organism itself, the living human being. So the organismal level represents the sum total of all human structural levels working together to keep one human being alive. So here are your systems. First is your integumentary system. So that forms your external body covering and protects deeper tissues from injury. Your integumentary system, they synthesize vitamin D, no? And your integumentary system, they actually house cutaneous receptors. No, that's your pain, pressure. You will learn all of those later on. Sweat and oil glands. Next is your skeletal system. They provide framework, the muscles to use to cause movement. They protect and support your body organs. And blood cells are formed within bones, and bones store minerals. So we'll learn all of those later. Muscular system, they allow manipulation of the environment, locomotion, and facial expression. They maintain posture and they produce heat. The nervous system is the fast-acting control system of the body. It responds to internal and external changes by activating appropriate muscles and glands. So, yan. Your endocrine system, these are glands that secrete hormones that regulate processes such as growth, reproduction, and nutrient use by body cells. Your cardiovascular system, blood vessels transport blood which carries oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, waste, and the heart. And that's the a system that is responsible for your heart pumping blood to various parts in your body. No, transport your blood is very important, as we all know, because they carry certain um like your oxygen, your carbon dioxide. Ito na yung mini-mention natin. So your lymphatic system, this is the system that is responsible for picking up fluid that leaks from the blood vessels and returns it to blood. So it houses your white blood cells, that's your lymphocytes, that's involved in immunity. And ito rin yung merong immune response that mounts attack against foreign substances within the body. Your respiratory system, it's more of your lungs. They keep blood constantly supplied with oxygen and removes carbon dioxide. So that's their goal. There is a gaseous exchange that occurs through the walls of the air sacs of the lungs. Your digestive system, they break down food into absorbable units that enter the blood for distribution to body cells. So indigestible foodstuffs are eliminated as feces. So yan yung your digestive system is the one responsible for that. Your urinary system, they eliminate nitrogenous waste from the body, and it regulates water electrolyte and acid-base balance of the blood. So yan, so it mostly involves your urinary bladder, your urethra, your ureter, your kidney, because a lot of things about your water electrolytes and acid-base balance happens in your kidneys. Your reproductive system, this is the overall function in the production of an offspring. So your testes, your male ducts and glands, if a female, it's more of the ovaries that produces the eggs and female sex hormones. Ayan. So later on, we will discuss that. So to maintain life, there are necessary life functions. First is your movement. So this includes the activities promoted by your muscular system. So your skeletal system, sila yung nagpro-provide ng framework. And ito yung pinupull ng muscles as they work. So, on a cellular level, yung ability ng muscle cell to move is more precisely called as your contractility. So, don't forget that term. So, responsiveness or excitability, it's the ability to sense changes, no? If there's a stimuli in the environment and then respond to them, no? So if there's a stimulus, as you can see in the picture, no, you should have an ability to sense that change and magre-respond ka to them. Like pag may mainit na baso, mainit na countertop, no, pag na-touch mo yun, may response ka to remove your hand as a response to that stimuli. Digestion, breaking down of ingested foodstuffs to simple molecules that can be absorbed into the blood. So yan, that's self-explanatory, but we're going to study all of those later. Metabolism. So metabolism is a broad term that includes all chemical reactions that occur within body cells. Your catabolism, that's breaking down substances into their simpler building blocks. And your anabolism, don't confuse the two. Your anabolism, this is synthesizing more complex cellular structure from simpler substances. So breaking down, that's your catabolism. Synthesizing, that's your anabolism. So your cellular respiration, this is using nutrients and oxygen to produce ATP, the energy-rich molecules that power cellular activities. So again, don't forget catabolism, that's breakdown of your larger molecules, and anabolism, that's synthesis of larger molecules. So excretion. Excretion is the process of removing waste or excreta from the body. So that's self-explanatory. Reproduction. So reproduction, they occur at the cellular and organismal level. So, ayan, in cellular reproduction, the original cell divides, producing two identical daughter cells that may then be used for body growth or repair. So, ayan, the reproduction of the human organism, it's making a whole new person. It's the major task of the reproductive system, but its function is exquisitely regulated by hormones of your endocrine system. So, your endocrine system and your reproductive system, they work together. So your growth, there's an increase in the size of a body or of a body part or the organism as a whole. So your homeostasis. So homeostasis is interesting. So the literal translation of homeostasis is unchanging. The term does not really mean a static or unchanging state. Rather, it indicates a dynamic state of equilibrium or a balance. In general, the body is in homeostasis when its needs are adequately met and its functioning smoothly. So, homeostasis is the ability to maintain relatively stable internal conditions even though the outside world changes continuously. So, ayan, there is a form of equilibrium inside of you, no? So that's why, no, sometimes when you look at the principle of homeostasis, you will, you will, you will, it's one, it's for me, it's one of the indication that really someone created the human body because sa homeostasis pa lang parang ang galing. Imposible naman siguro na ano ba yan, coincidence ang system na yan. Your body is really designed by someone, no? So though actually itong mga words na nasa PowerPoint, those are masyadong complicated na and fancy, pero the point lang ng homeostasis is there's a system inside your body that's their job is pag merong ganap sa environment mo na different, like let's say pumunta ka ng dagat, no? So pag maligo ka ng dagat, it's a different temperature. So langoy ka ng langoy doon. It's a different temperature, it's colder, no? So para hindi ka naman ma-hypothermia or hindi ka masyadong nalalamigan, may system sa loob ng body mo na nagre-regulate or nagtatrabaho para yung temperature mo is hindi bumalik sa normal na temperature. Hindi din siya nalalamig. So ayan, so something inside of you is keeping a balance, no? A state of equilibrium. So yan. So, ayan, the body is in homeostasis when its needs are adequately met and it's functioning smoothly. So, there will be a homeostatic imbalance. If there's a disturbance in that balance, no, that is already a disease, no? Yan. Sana tayo. Ayan, so homeostatic control. If you have a stimulus, produces change in variable, the receptor detects the change, there's an input of the information sent along your afferent pathway to the control center, in afferent papunta, control center, then afferent pathway, that's your brain. Your brain is your control center. Your afferent pathway, it's output, don't confuse this. Your afferent is input, your afferent is output. Information sent along afferent pathway to the effector. Para merong response. The response of effector feeds back to reduce the effect of stimulus and returns variable to homeostatic level. Ayan. So again the first component, no, because of the stimulus that at some point there's a stimulus sa iyong environment na nagpo-produce ng change, no, meron tayong receptor na nag-detect ng change, no? That, yeah, may nag-monitor ng change na tinatawag na stimulus. Then, sinisend nilang information to the second component, which is your control center, no? And papunta dyan sa control center, that's your afferent pathway input. Then, pag na-process na ng control center, no, magiging lalabas siya, that's your output, that's your efferent pathway. One mnemonics na tinuro sa akin ng senior is afferent, so ascending papunta sa brain. So A, no, papunta. Tama ba sis? Ascending papunta sa brain, so afferent, your control center, your brain. Pag lalabas ng brain mo, that's your output, hindi ka na ma-confuse kasi that's your efferent, no? Then there will be an effector. So yung effector na yun, that will stimulate your response feedback to reduce the effect of stimulus, para ma-reduce nila yung effect ng stimulus and returns variable to a homeostatic level. So may balance. So your negative feedback. So your negative feedback in this system, the output shuts off the original effect of the stimulus or reduces its intensity. So these mechanisms, they cause the variable to change in a direction opposite to that of the initial change. So ang goal lang naman ng negative feedback is to prevent sudden severe changes within the body, no? So most homeostatic control mechanisms are negative feedbacks. So yan, these mechanisms, they cause the variable to change in a direction opposite to that of the initial change. So para ma-return siya to its ideal value, thus the name negative feedback mechanism. Your positive feedback, no, the result or response enhances the original stimulus so that the response is accelerated. So ayan. So thank you for listening. Have a great day.